a little party going on. Wonderful.
We do.
Okay, so it is 7:42. We have about 45 minutes
Mhm.
to get through this session. So I was meant to have a co-host, but something happened to his technology, so I get to facilitate this all by myself. So this is the final session of Agbole, the Poetics and Potentialities of a Community-Centered Design Practice. And today was meant to be for final presentations and just a little remix, which is the game I created. So a quick recap of the past couple of sessions. We spoke about this, at least I presented an hypothesis of design that really resonates with me, which is it is an act of ancestral longing. It's a fully embodied desire to express and realize the highest resonances of my humanity. Um, my explanations, I think a lot of what I tried to do during these past couple of sessions was to really explain why I would call design this, because usually design is, at least in the way I was introduced to design, it's a very technical, it's a very physical, it's a very material expression. But as in my own unique experience in the world as a um, Yoruba Nigerian Black woman, design for me design for me is more than just how do I say, it looks good and it does what it needs to do. Design for me has a deeper resonance with how material reality informs your psycho-spiritual reality, and how it's important for more of us to become designers, meaning more of us who desire a world that is more beautiful, more equitable, a world in which people are thriving, well-being is high, abundance is present and available for us all. I think design is a huge way of bringing us to that place. Now, of course, there are different aspects to that work of social transformation, but I've come to fall in the world and fall in love with the act of design. Okay, so
Can I ask a quick question?
yes.
Sorry, really fast. I recently learned about a group in Boston called the Design Studio for Social
Intervention.
uh, Intervention. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know them? Are you involved? How do they relate?
So
If that's
I
useful
know
right
them
now.
and I've not done work with them. So the entity I worked with in Boston was the Guild. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Guild. It's on
Mm-mm.
um it's Washington Street in Washington. God, Four Corners. God, I've just been
Okay.
gone 2 years and my memories. So I collaborated with the Guild to transform okay, so in community with members of the community collective that we were building at that point in the Bodin, Geneva, and Four Corners community. We came together to work on space, and I had the privilege of being a integral part of that process, facilitating that process, honing my instincts of how do we center, or how can I always center community in my design practice through my work with the Guild. But I've heard about DS4NI, and I think their work is amazing. Any other questions?
All right. Yeah.
I was curious why you asked, actually, if I knew about them.
Um, on the one hand, fear. On the other hand, stream of conscious, kind of like connection making, because
Mhm.
I've recently been looking for ways to engage with them.
Yeah.
I think my company does a really good job targeting specific problems and sort of rallying around them.
Mhm.
Whereas I like the grassroots bottom up approach
Mhm.
of the design studio. And so I've reached out to them to understand how we might be able to combine our um, approaches and differing expertises to be of combined greater value, impact,
Mhm.
whatever to Boston. Yeah. I
So
was just curious.
One thing,
how do you see that happening? Oh, sorry, James.
yeah, Lars, they're good friends of ours.
Right
Um,
on.
and we they technically were one of our partners for the citywide assembly I just had.
Cool.
Um,
Cool. Cool.
so yeah, definitely good folks. I'm definitely encourage you
Thank
to
you.
connect with those folks for sure.
Beautiful. Yay. I can't wait to hear what you guys come up with. And hopefully, um, and actually, because this is a space, actually this space is for people to share their own design aspirations, their design practice, their design work. If you do decide to share more about where you think this um or if you do decide to share more where you think this call that you're getting to connect with more grassroots, like DS and I doing more grassroots design action, and how that is relevant to your own practice as a designer, which I am curious as to your practice. I know you are connected with Artisans Asylum. You are its lead, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And, in the past, i.e., our last 10 years of history, we've been focused on helping our own members
mm-hmm,
build the products that they're passionate about. And they have varying degrees of local community attachment. And I
mm-hmm,
think as we begin to plan our next 10 years of service, it's very different. It's much less about what do we want to do? What meets our needs? What do we think is cool? And it's much more about surfacing barriers to well-being, understanding how we can impact the external community rather than just internally. So the design studio for social intervention understands how to work with communities at a level that we do not.
mm-hmm,
And so I think we're looking to learn with and from and alongside them to
mm-hmm.
be of better, whatever the word is, community impact in the future.
Tremendous. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
um does anybody else want to offer like something in this at this period? We could keep going, but just wanted to give space in case anyone wanted to respond to anything that has been said. Louise?
Yeah, of course, I kind of misunderstood it a little bit, but my idea of design is I'm trying to do spoken word. I want to do something mythological because, like, I complained about how people feel and they don't see it. I
Mm,
want to make it so you could show like something I want to create the land of the takers with tentacles that take and grab and shift. Mythical, so you're not facing people's faces. So you're not doing things with people's faces, but you're trying to emphasize a value or make a value seem through the mythical stuff.
mm.
I want to try that.
Wow. Wow. So I cannot wait to hear that. We have space for that, I guess, in the next about 10-15 minutes. But is anybody else going to be presenting? So at least I can know. So I know Louise is presenting her mythological spoken word. I can't wait to hear it. Is anybody else wanting to present their own design work, design practice? Okay.
No, I don't. Yeah,
Mhm.
sorry.
No,
I was
no,
going to say
of
I
course.
don't have anything to present, but I do want to continue to offer Artisans Asylum as a resource for advancing practice. Where the need is huge to have studio space, access to production technology, whatever it is.
Yes, that's amazing. And I imagine that there's opportunities for Ujima and I would love to see what comes out of collaborations with our community here and Artisans Asylum because it's a maker space, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So that's actually such a great resource, such a great resource to have.
Well, I would, sorry, I would show you what I have, but like I said, the website is the section of the web design studio is still has some unfinished work,
Yes.
but it really is a work. It's all about arts and arts and design and
Mhm.
but it will. I will share it next time with you guys. Show you the link. Um,
Excited.
yeah, so it's so trying to make it new design websites are becoming very fluent nowadays. Not even nowadays. Started in January, mid January, by attending webinars. All of a sudden, I realized websites that I designed last year absolutely. They are even my own company's website have to be redesigned now because things are so much more. Websites are being designed in a very fluid manner now. It's more attractive, appealing to consumers' eyes, and that's it's just a beautiful piece of art the way I see it. So but yeah, so I just when it's ready, I'll let you guys know. Um, but just so you know about your friend, if you guys and I don't like to share, like send out links on Zoom or any of those online meetings. But I'm gonna send you guys a link if you have, when one of your friends are having like Mo- Mobaji
Mobology.
Mobology, thank you. Please correct me at all time. Mobology, yes. Like your friend who had had a technical problems with his, with the device. Feel free to let them know that they can reach out to me. I'm open
Oh,
remotely, so you guys can just reach out to me if there's anyone in the team is having technical problem logging in, and I can address it remotely with them, or they can call me on my phone, my email, or just preferably would be better if they reach out to me directly so I can assist them remotely on tablets, smartphones, and computers. So that way we make sure everyone is online
yeah.
for our very important meetings.
Oh, thank you so much for offering that. Would you like to drop the information
I
in the
just did.
chat? Okay, awesome.
I just did.
So, I'm just going to keep moving, and then we're going to have a space, another open space for people to share. That's when I will invite Louise to share her poem, and anybody else who would like to share anything about their design practice. So I'll just quickly breeze through these slides so we can get to sharing again, because I love to hear what you all have to say about these things. So another thing we kind of specifically I presented as a specific description was community design, which in my own practice has come to mean acts of world making that center our ancestors, ourselves, and our descendants. And again, this language is important to me, or the way I've chosen to understand design is important to me because of my own particular experience as a Yoruba Nigerian Black diasporan woman. Um, there's a lot of discontinuity in my history, and so design is a way of bridging that discontinuity, which is literally meaning reconnecting to my source, and source being ancestors. But also design for me is also very forward thinking of realizing that I equally am a source for my own descendants. And so for me, it's also a question of what do I want my descendants to come and encounter in the world when they arrive in the world, which they will, I imagine, unless anything happens out of my control or our control. But yes, so this is another description of community design I presented, and I presented it quite specifically because in our community, we talk a lot about generational wealth. We talk a lot about generational cycles. And I believe this is a idea of design that really takes into consideration that deep reality that we hold as Black and brown, BIPOC people in Boston, in the United States, and frankly, globally. So yes, so moving on from community design. So one of the questions I wanted us to go through together before we entered into presentation space was, to what extent do we see the role of the ancestral and love in the making of our homes, our marketplaces, and our work, and our workplaces, or our work, actually, that's fine as language. I, I'm hoping that is a clear question. Or I could expand on things that might not be. I I recognize that sometimes I struggle with language. So
For the notes, could you repeat the question one more time?
yes, so where do we see the role of the ancestral and of love in the making, so in the designing, in the making, the manifestation of our homes, our marketplaces, and our work?
Okay, thank you.
Anyone would like to share?
I will just say that as a white Puerto Rican Hispanic American, I see a gap in the concept of love and I'll say government as the mechanism for the redistribution of wealth or caretaking. It comes with all of these contingencies, i.e., you are taken care of if ... And so I struggle with that. At a neighborhood level, I see it as very strong and intact, but it has to do with very localized circumstances of where you were born and who you came up with. And when I saw that the New York Times reported this year that the level of per capita Black wealth was negative, it was like literally zero compared to the level of socialized wealth in our society. I would, I don't know how to sort of describe sort of the anger that I felt.
Mm.
And love and wealth aren't the same, but we're in a capitalist society in which you're taken care of if you have wealth. If you don't have wealth, you're fucked. I'm sorry to kind of put it that starkly, but whether you're white or Black, or of any background, if you don't have wealth, it is very, very difficult to experience the sense of social love.
Mm.
And
Sorry,
don't forget, just to add to what you just said, Lars, is don't forget networking.
Yeah.
It's huge, and if you don't have that, if you don't have that, you are bound to fail unless you have a group such as ourselves working together.
Yeah.
So when you say network, how are you using it? And I would actually challenge you to think about it from a design perspective, because Ujima, I would argue, is a designed network. So how are you seeing the role of these networks? These I visualize them as community webs, as essential to this, or as lacking, as you mentioned, or and why they're important actually.
I mean, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I am here, but I'm not yet a member. But
Yeah.
I feel I'm being treated as such,
Mm-hmm.
right? The social network doesn't operate that way. Okay, you have to, there's a lot that's involved. And I was able to just try, just log in for just for my first meeting. What was it, 3 weeks ago? And here I am every week, and
Mm-hmm.
so much so now that I want to sign up for, to become a member, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be frank and honest. Most networking, uh, group, it's all about how deep your pocket is. It's all about how far does your own network
Mm-hmm.
extend. So I feel this is different. And maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my opinion.
I imagine, no, you are not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. This is a community powered space. And it's a space I believe is created to support and to make you feel at home being supported. And it's designed in that way. So you're experiencing the quality of the design of the creators of Ujima. That's beautiful. Anybody else want to offer something to this question?
I will.
Mhm.
I think my ancestors were the exploiters. Like even though not all whites benefited the same, but we did, from white privilege. Like I think we sometimes have the advantage because of the white supremacy that our ancestors did. Like even being poor in the 70s, I could be lucky. Like the low income, the low income decent places to live were for whites only, like Charlestown, South Boston. So because being white, I got the privilege. Like my life goes because you got the privilege to go into it where you could get cheaper rents and save more money. And I feel like the British was Scottish, my family's Scottish. Misers and more love wasn't so much part of it. It was more stuff. But I think that's how I kind of think that we benefit from some of the advantages and things that our ancestors did. And that we need to recognize that. But not all whites benefited the same. And that's what gets me. Some of the upper class whites want to say they benefit as much as the lower class whites. And I find out if I talk to some lower class whites, I have to think I work my way up so I have a little bit more than they do. Instead of putting privilege, I say advantage, and that clicks with them more than privilege.
You just even actually designed your own language, going from privilege to advantage in a way that resonates and makes sense to you. So this is actually an amazing example of what I think the element of and maybe just I guess in a sense I believe we are all designers. I guess my hope is that we are more triggered in our intention, like we become more intentional designers in really understanding how we are making these decisions of design, and how these decisions allow us to communicate better through whatever vocal or non-vocal, like art, space, systems, jewelry. Like these things are voices, these things are utterances that can resonate the world, the reality that we desire for ourselves and our community.
Can I ask a question real quick, Mobolaji? I'm not part of a church in Boston. What is the role of the church in a question like the one that you've posed?
Interesting. So my answer is going to be different from your answer.
Sorry, Mobolaji. Hold on
Okay.
for that. What was that question last? I'm sorry. What was that question again?
Mhm.
Yeah. I was just curious to understand the role of the church in um, in addressing a question as complex and as beautiful as Mobolaji's, which is, sort of what is the role of ancestral love and making, in the home and markets and our work. Because my experience in Washington, D.C. Was that the church was profoundly important. And I'm not part of a church in Boston. And I'm curious what the role of the church is.
Thank you.
Can you tell, so I would like to hear a bit about the church you experienced in Washington, how you saw them embodying
Yeah.
these ideals in their design, however they gave those utterances.
Yeah, so it's complex. You put your finger on it, and it's twofold. Like, so on the one hand, I was a high school teacher. A lot of my young people came through the church, and if I needed support in a young person's guidance and support, I needed to reach out to the church. They would, oftentimes the church supported activities like a graduation. And the AME churches down in DC would host graduations and things like that. But then on the other hand, if it was an issue like HIV/AIDS, the church was a barrier to progress, right? So the church and its attitudes towards marriage, towards conjugality, whatever, was very conservative. And so it played a dual role of both being incredibly nurturing and supportive, and then at the other hand being ostracizing and a bit of an obstacle. And I don't know the role. I simply have not joined or participated in the church in Boston. So it's a question sort of really driven by total ignorance, but with a little bit of background from a totally different city.
So does anybody have anything to offer to, I think your question is quite beautiful, Lars, and I wanted to open up the space for others to offer responses, questions, nuance, and like expansions before I speak myself.
I would say the word that unifies my experience and the positives and the negatives, at least as far as DC goes, is the word love. And I really want to just understand, I don't know, sorry, forgive me, but the limits of love, if that's fair. Like, what's up?
No, I understand. So I think so. Your question is really amazing because there are many ways I could take it because the church has different meanings to me, but I'm going to take it as meaning the role of spirit in this conversation, or actually, I'll say the role of like how I say. Okay, actually, the church is in spirit. The role of religion in this conversation, but religion, there is an element of spirit to religion. I don't want to undermine that people experience spirit within religion, and I think that is where I would even start off. One of the things. So I used to be Christian. I'm no longer Christian, but one of the things that I do remember about Christianity is that there was always a saying of "By their fruits you shall know them," and so it is a sense that you cannot engineer or design a different resonance than the people who are creating that resonance. And so in a sense, there are churches that through their actions are designing a good world. And there are churches that through their actions show lack of care for whether or not a good world exists or not. And there are churches that are actually not wanting a more equitable world for more of us, not just in the United States, I would argue globally. And so I do think that at the end of it, I think you're asking a question of spirit. And I believe that love, at least in my experience, the place where love meets limits is when my belief of what is possible is like really, how do I say, it's like it's I guess decapitated. I don't know, I'm trying to use like that belief is just is stifled. And so I believe that is where love it reaches its limit. It cannot go beyond an already stifled idea of what is possible. I think that love can be limitless when there is that I guess love is limitless in possibility, because love is, for me, creativity, is imagination, it's challenging the things that do not bring joy, beauty, and peace to those in its purview. It's, of course, reinventing itself constantly. Like, really, what is love, in a way? But yeah, I do believe. Then I would just rest and say my current spirituality is ancestral. So this is like, for me, it. Love is ancestry. Ancestry is love. Making is a product of my ancestry, because I believe that the act of making is so primal to every human being. And I believe that there should be more intentional, how will I say, courting, supporting of that expression of it happens regardless. We all make things, systems, emotional situations. We are always making. I think it is a question of how do we become more aware of our power as makers? How do we become more aware of our capacity of directing our intentionality to manifest positivity in both material and immaterial ways in the world, and manifesting meaning still design. So because design also, I think, is a very historical process, and I don't want to lose that, because I'm a deep believer in history. I believe that history, studying history, knowing your history, having a deep awareness of who you are, where your ancestors were, where you're coming from, is essential to make decisions that don't create a cycle, for a negative cycle for yourself. There's a lot that I don't even know, and it still angers me. And so a lot of my focus as a designer is also that research work, both through text, but also internally, because I see my body as a text in itself. Okay, so I'll stop here.
Did you say ancestry is love, love is ancestry?
Yes, in my own spiritual practice, yes.
Yeah. I just feel like, we all entitled to our own opinions,
Mm-hmm.
um and I strongly believe in it, in ancestry. Um and the same goes should go for everyone else too. But it's just something about it. Is it is it is it I mean, it's just the whole love. Ancestry is love, love is ancestry. And you can help me understand,
Of course,
help
no.
me understand this. But
Mm-hmm.
you know um as someone who is strong about my ancestry, and I think that my race is superior than yours, okay, where's the love in that? you
Interesting.
know
Mm-hmm.
because I think my race is superior than yours.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I'm gonna step on you.
Mm-hmm.
What is that, love?
I see.
You know what I
That's
mean?
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know
I'm just
exactly what you
like,
mean.
I mean, that's just, I don't think that. I mean, again,
Yeah.
and I really don't partake much in these type of topics, but I see your point where you're going with the topic. Where do we see the world of the ancestral and love in in the making of our homes and our marketplace and our work. It's beautiful. I love that line. But he did, and then I was a little bit taken by, from the in the beginning. And when you said this, that last statement just now, and I was just like, I think that's why I was taken back a little bit, because I mean, what happened in January 6th can be our people who believe in their ancestral roots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So for what they did and the way they think everyone else is below them, are we gonna say it's love? It's love. It's okay. I mean, so that's all I have to say. Again, that's just it's a beautiful line, but people can use that line and say, you know what? It's exactly my point. That's me being ancestral and love, love for my people. It's just those two key words are hard to combine. I think they are very hard to combine.
Oh, there's somebody who is wanting to speak in response.
Ooh, Jenny.
Please,
Hey.
Jenny.
Oh yeah. Oh God, we all in for trouble. Oh God.
No. I love it. Please.
I don't know, but let's give her the floor. Let's go.
Jack, what I do to you to make you so nervous?
You entertain me. You very sweet. It's this group. Every one of you guys, just everything that you guys speak of is it's something to cherish. So you got the floor. Go for it, lady.
Thank you, Jack. I definitely wanted to take a step back when it comes to conversation about the church. My faith is huge for me, but I love the question that you just asked, Jack, in regards to ancestral and love and naming world events that's been occurring in our very own country. And I guess what I can offer within this conversation is when for me, one thing that has been important, both from a faith perspective and from understanding ancestral and love in the making of a home, a marketplace, and within our work, is really defining the fact that love in English is supposed to encapture a whole lot, but in reality, in many languages, there's the word love is broken down to several other words, right? So, for example, in the Greek, what is encaptured in English as love is broken down to different words depending on the context. So there's agape love, which is known as the love that we have, and I speak this for me in regards to the divine with God. Agape, and then when there's eros, which is romantic love, like there's different love. I think one thing that has been powerful for me is understanding that in order to understand the role, you have to understand the version. And we tend to, at least in English, because English is not my first language, it's actually my third. So when I was learning to speak English, I remember one thing that I felt was that English is a very lazy language. Like, Mobolaji.
I'm telling you.
Like in French.
So what's your third? What's your other language? I know it's you do speak Haitian Creole.
Yes. So my first language that I learned to speak was French. The second is Haitian Creole. Okay. And I named that specifically because there is a difference.
Understood.
And then the third is English. but I remember in learning how to speak English that I was confused at how lax the rules
It's
of
true.
language was.
It's true.
And
Yeah.
I think that carries even in conversations like this, when we talk about
Okay.
love in a big context, or when we talk about ancestral in a big context, or faith in a big context. And I'm just gonna stop here because I could go on.
I'm sorry. Did you
So-
see? Did you see James? I think who's that? Whose message? Quick crack.
Okay.
Oh,
So
that's me. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
sorry.
quickly, I quickly want to go through so we have 8 more minutes. This was really great conversation, and this is for us to keep thinking about it. I will definitely lay on the side. Thank you so much, Jack, for like raising that point, because it is a huge point of how do you reconcile. And I'm so grateful, Jenny, for you just bringing up the idea of what is the version. I would even say again, it's we all know what the fruits of love is. And so if we see, and so I guess for me, it's important to just clarify, even in my work and thinking of when I mean the ancestral, what is even that? So for me, I when I use that word, it's less a thing about even those who lived before, but more a statement about just my essence is ancestral. I have a source. There's a source I derive from, and and that source is love. And so it's in dialogue with that source that I desire to create. Now there are people who but the world isn't like all roses. There is no way we can even say that. There are choices to dialogue with other kinds of sources and energies. And I think the only thing that I owe myself is to show up with the dialogues I have with love, with good, and see and at least show up as a light worker, and more, and my dream is for more light workers, more of those who create with love, with ancestral love, showing up in the world and manifesting their own imaginations, their own visions, and having them stand side to side with the other energies that exist. And then we really see, the capability, the potentiality, the possibility of love, as a real alternative to what is currently a given. Okay, so I'm being poked about time. I'm being poked about time. So we do have one presentation by Louise. Louise, this is your time to present your designed spoken word. Is it okay if I just take 10 minutes of your, basically we close space at 8:40. Is it okay if we extend to an additional 10 minutes, or do we want to end exactly at 8:30? Because I wanted
I'm fine if everyone is okay with that.
Okay, I wanted to give Louis space to present, but also do the last game.
I respect that.
Okay. Hi, Louise.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I did.
Sorry, quick
Bible
question.
Yes.
Am I taking notes here, or can I stop and just
You can stop.
be in the moment?
You can say
Thank you.
Louise gives poem.
All right.
or spoken word. I'm not good at rhyming.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna say I had some Bible quotes in this too. It says, "The land of the land of the takers, with tentacles spreading far and near, from sea to sea. Push aside what's there. This is now our land, and for far and beyond, take, leaving desolate land, turmoil, and dependent and desperate servants. Come not to our border, and not take our riches. The land of the takers sprouts off within itself, the bigger taking from the smaller, and leaving more desperate people. The book he who was over, and the statue guards the poor. And the statue says, "Bring us your poor, your downtrodden, and the book comes up. Rob not the poor, because he is poor, no, oppress the afflicted, prison, because the Lord shall take their case and will spoil the soul of those that spoiled them. The rain starts to come down and pour. And it says, do not take, he who, yeah, the rich, well, yeah, he who oppresses the poor to increase their riches and eventually gives to the richest, all surely will come to want. And the rain came pouring down, thunder, lightning, the sky lit up, the sky clouded up, and it came on, and the sky clouded up, and the roaring, and the tears came roaring down from the book and down the statue.
Thank you so much, Louise. Thank you. Can you, in just, we have just short time, in just like a sentence or two, can you share with us your inspiration behind this design, this word design?
Well, because I'm thinking, like, we talk about America doesn't want immigrants coming to the border because they say they'll be taking from us, but we took from their land.
Exactly.
We
Exactly.
took from the Indians.
So it's truth telling. Exactly.
And that's what if you say that in the people's faces, they're going to fight back. I want to try to get it different.
Exactly. Wow. Thank you. Very bold, very strong, very simple, straight to the point language. Very well designed poem. No one is
That's a good, I love it.
no one's gonna be confused with what it is you're saying. Amazing. Okay, so I wish we could spend more time dissecting collectively, but I just wanted to like keep moving things. So I really want to talk about my design. So I have a design practice, or I call it a multidimensional organism called Agbo. It basically is my space for research, practice, theorizing about with and about the ancestral, the eternal ancestral, through the design of healing spaces, teacher objects, spiritual pilgrimages, and retreats for community well-being and abundance. We are seeking collaboration with other artists, creators, innovators, leaders, and visionary, offspring of Africa and its diaspora. I should add also offspring of those who love and desire to be allies of the offspring of Africa and its diaspora. So I'll drop my contact information if you have any questions about my own work. If you want to collaborate, I do a lot of, it's, as long as it's a question of I want to design in a way that enhances the well-being of those connected in every level to the creation of that space, I am super interested in being a part of conceptualizing the possibility of that, from material to immaterial aspects of things. So that's my design practice, but I wanted to show what I'm currently designing. Yay. So I'm currently designing a lamp in dialogue with an ancestral designer from the Bamileke tribe in Cameroon. So the original concept of the lamp came from a choker I found out about, or a style of metal work in this place called Bamoun. I really enjoy their metal work, their bronze work primarily, and I am in love with their chokers. And so this love for this particular piece literally inspired the project to create a large scale lamp, about 6 foot tall lamp, that is in reference to that work. And for me, it's not just the object that was designed, it was also the process that was designed, meaning that even though I'm the storyteller of, or I'm the storyteller, alchemist, midwife of this particular spirit, what I love is that I was able to create a dialogue between a designer from the 1800s, 1700s, and actually a contemporary young African-American female designer. So there was a dialogue between these designers across time through this object to create another object that is continuity. So for a lot of my work is about continuity, like rebridging for continuities, having these kind of really explicit dialogue with the design work of ancestors, and using that dialogue to create more beautiful teaching objects for our community. So this is for a client, so it's going to be manifested soon. I hope to share pictures once it manifests. It will be a feat. But yeah, this is my own design practice, or what I'm focused on, my design practice. Now, finally, we have 8 more minutes. I wanted to have a quick game called Is This Art? Edition number 1. So it's open. Anyone can answer what they think this is, if this is art or what the heck this is. Create theory. I will put about.
This is art.
It is art. Why do you think it's art?
It looks abstract.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Done.
Okay. Does everybody else agree with him that this is art?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's
Come on, James.
but I also
Don't let me down.
I also feel like it could be a bench. You know, not that
Oh crap.
not that benches aren't like artful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering like if this is also, this is like a piece of art, but also has a functional practice or functional existence.
You see the ancestral showing up around you.
It is a bench. It is a bench. The
Uh-huh.
extension of the
Very
legs.
warm. Very warm. It's not that, but it's very, very warm. Very warm.
This could be a bench though. The way the front legs, the
Mm-hmm.
front legs
Mm-hmm.
are scattered
Mm-hmm.
from within a far distance, and then the back it's from a geometric point. It can actually support weight if it was something that was designed on the biggest scale.
I think you're on the slippery slope there, man, because
Oh, come on
the
now,
minimum to support weight is 3 points.
Are you
Right?
kidding me, man?
It's
You
3
really gonna
points.
bring the architect crap
Yeah,
on me right now?
hell
I
yeah,
mean, come on,
baby.
man.
It's 3 points,
You
but
ruining my
it's
moment.
abstracted.
I had a
It's
moment.
abstracted.
I had a
It
moment.
has a head and a tail. So
I had
it's
a
a
moment.
functional
All
piece
right,
of
gentlemen,
like
reel
art.
it back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reel
So
it back
I'm going
in.
to have 2 more people give guesses. 2 more people who haven't guessed give guesses. And then I will unveil what it is.
Oh,
I
it's
kind of see it
functional
as an
art.
animal.
Hmm?
I kind of thought it was a sort of an animal, a toy animal.
Anyone else?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm about to burst your brains. This is a pillow.
A what?
Yes,
Pillow.
yes, it is.
So this is the
Functional
power
art,
of
baby.
design. This is what our ancestors used as pillows. This is how they rested
Oh,
and they slept.
Yo.
So it's quite interesting when you encounter this kind of things, because it actually shifts a little bit of your understanding of the world and what is you take for granted. Like you would think, oh yeah, pillows. No, this is, and it's funny because it's not, and I mean ancestors. I mean actually not just African, Asian, Japanese ancestors use this as pillow. Different design, of course. This is specifically from West Africa, but or East Africa, depending. I'm not really sure. But the idea of a neck rest was very popular in a lot of indigenous, in a lot of how do I say, pre-European colonial cultures, and so this was what people used to rest. And I find it quite interesting because it's so hard, and the idea of rest in contemporary culture is softness. And so it made me, so of course, that means they had a radically different idea of what rest meant, a radically different idea of what comfort for the neck meant. I don't imagine that the people who made these as pillows or as headrests, as neck rests, as anthropologists and archaeologists call it, were thinking that, oh, I want to be uncomfortable while I'm sleeping. So technically, this is an object of comfort that is so radically different from anything that is currently being designed as an object of comfort. So yeah, this is a headrest. I love this game because it's like a way to just share nice tidbits of what I know. But I'm really happy that you guys engaged in this. Yeah, so I would drop my email in the chat if you have any questions, if you would like to collaborate on any projects. I'm available. Thank you all so much for your time this evening. I have one last thing to say, and a prayer I often pray, which is, may the steps our ancestors took continue to illuminate our path with love. I've had a great time with Ujima. I hope I come back again in the next few years. Not few years, in the next, soon. I come back soon. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for keeping you all this late. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mobolaji. This has been great. This caps off the 3-month learning pod, the first of this year. We hope that you guys can join us for the next learning pod. We'll start next month in April. We're actually gonna have Mercedes, who's been part of this this group. She's gonna be sharing some of her work, some of her actually she's gonna be sharing some films with us too. So hopefully y'all can come through. It's gonna be a really amazing conversation and learning this next 3 months too. So just wanted to give y'all some space there. And again, thank you, Mobolaji. This has been great. And thank you all for today. This has been like really,
Thank
really
you.
great.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Have a great evening.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. Take care.